Hi, Assassins. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Cami.
Welcome to Bookish Realms.
We're just two girls who can't stop talking about fantasy books.
Welcome to our deep dives of Queen of Shadows. This episode covers chapters 16 through 22 of Queen of Shadows. Like in past episodes, the chapter summaries and character discussion are spoiler-free, but the rest of the pod does include spoilers for all of Throne of Glass. This podcast is for mature audiences only. Cami, take it away, girl.
Let's get into some chapter summaries. As a reminder, this is a non-spoiler section where we summarize the chapters we'll cover in this episode. So if you haven't read the entire series, but you have read chapters 16 through 22 of Queen of Shadows, you can listen to this section. Chapter 16. Let's go break Adion out from jail, aka the castle. Aelin disguises herself as a dancer and infiltrates the castle. While performing, she fakes falling and spills water across the floor, washing away the word marks that were set up to trap her. Chapter 17. The dancers are each given black glass flowers and told not to break them until the right moment. As Adion watches from the execution platform, Aelin breaks away, takes on a nobleman's disguise, and reaches him just as the dancers shatter the flowers and the room fills with smoke. Chapter 18. Using word marks, Aelin unlocks Adion's chains and grabs the sword of Orinth. Together, they fight their way out of the glass castle. Ayy! Chapter 19, but it is not over yet. Valg-possessed Dorian intercepts Aelin and Adion in the garden and attacks. Aelin traps him with a word mark and begs for a sign that he's still in there, but when he doesn't respond, she prepares to kill him. Nezrin stops her, and with Kale and Lysandra's help, they all escape to safety. When they're back at Lysandra's apartment, Lysandra finally realizes Aelin's true identity as Terrasen's queen. Chapter 20. Elide is revealed as a Terrasen noble under her uncle Vernon's control, unable to read and unaware of her witch heritage. Manon learns more about the Valg and their history with witches, and a Yellowlegs coven volunteers for Parrington's experiments. Chapter 21. Dorian, still possessed, is so angry at Aelin for not killing him. Even when she gave Dorian a moment to fight back, the Valg prince inside was too strong for him to overcome. Chapter 22. Kale refuses to believe Dorian is beyond saving and becomes more determined than ever to find a way to help him. But when he searches the tunnels for the Valg, he finds them completely empty and fears that it means something else is coming their way.
Welcome to Character Discussion. As we dive deeper into the series, the point of view shifts are happening more often, which means we don't always get those big info dumps about main characters in every set of chapters. Which means going forward, this section will be split into two parts. Quick character summaries, and then deeper dives for the ones who have a lot more going on. Depending on how much development or drama we see, we might also include a golden line for certain characters. Just those standout moments that really hit. But as always, this section will continue to remain spoiler-free. So let's start with our short summaries. This week in the short summaries, we have Elide, Florine, Aelin, Adion, and Ghislaine. Let's start with Florine. She is one of the Empire's most known dancers who turned instructor. She understands the dark shit that is happening in Otterland, aka all the guards and the weird shit that's been happening. She has openly condemned the king's crackdowns on the arts. We love a queen who stands for something. Yes, queen. But she is also grieving the loss of her friend who was also a conductor named Peter. Although she is a hard trainer, she is also, kind of a queen. She discreetly taught Aelin and supported her and even let her play the pianoforte after lessons. Slay. We love that. Next up, we have Elide. Elide was once promised as the future lady of Paranth, but unfortunately, her dad died and her crazy-ass uncle took over and locked her away in a tower. I don't know if you've ever seen Shrek, but it's basically giving when Fiona was locked in the tower and Shrek had to come save her. But anyways, prior to this, she has never seen a whole ass army, only just a few soldiers here and there. And since she's seeing this army, memories of Terrasen's fall start to bring back some feelings of abandonment and silence, which is kind of understandable. But anyways, Elide is a grown-ass woman now and has learned to protect herself as best as she can. She fakes a stammer to keep people at distance, keeps her head down, and she relies on lessons that her nurse Fanula taught her, which was how to be observant, listen, and think carefully before acting. Even though she puts on this quote-unquote helpless act, she is far from it, baby. Next up, we have Aelin. She freed Adion. And she basically tried to see if Dorian was still Dorian and tried to kill him, but Nesrin stopped her. And that's really all we get from Aelin in these set of chapters. Our boy Adion is finally free. Sorry if you're listening to this and you had to hear that, but Whatever. Next up, we have Ghislaine. Ghislaine is one of the 13 and is a mix of warrior and also scholar. When she is in battle, she is calm, reliable, and razor sharp, which is exactly who I would want to be fighting next to me. But off the field, she is just like me. She loves a good book, is a little impatient, sharp-tongued, and a curious girly. She has sea green eyes, which also make her stand out. Prior to the fall of Terrasen, she attended a mortal school, which was not really normal for a Blackbeak witch. Although she has seen hella battles, she still has a slight spark of humanity in her. This week, we don't really have any deeper dives. There was a lot of action in this set of chapters and not a lot of character development. So stay tuned for that, maybe next week.
Let's explore this world. Here we cover the main world-building elements that come up in chapters 16 through 22. We'll revisit these places and world-building elements in other episodes. For today, this section is not spoiler-free, so if you haven't finished the entire series, please do not continue. But please come back when you have. In this set of chapters, we get a huge lore download from Ghislaine about the Valg and their role in the history of Aurelia. The Valg are a race of demons from another world. They entered Aurelia long ago during a time when only humans and Fae existed. Their goal was to conquer this world and make it their own. According to Ghislaine, the Valg quickly realized that humans were not suitable hosts. Humans were too fragile to survive the process. Instead, the Valg began targeting the Fae. They captured and bred with them, attempting to create offspring that could live and thrive in this world. The result of this was the creation of witches. The Iron Teeth witches inherited more of the Valg traits, while the Krakens took after their Fae ancestry. Because of this origin, witches exist as a blend of both worlds. They are neither fully Fae nor fully Valg, but something entirely different. At their core, the Valg are parasites. They survive by entering a host body and taking control, feeding off the person until nothing is left. This form of possession is central to how they operate and spread their influence. After the first war against the Valg, many were defeated or driven out. The people of Aurelia did not trust what the witches were or where they came from. Rather than destroy them, the Fae King Brannon allowed them to live in the Western Wastes, separating them from the rest of the continent. In a way, the legacy of the Valg is tied to both possession and creation. They take bodies, but they also created the witches.
This is our analysis and foreshadowing section, which is not. It is not spoiler-free. We will break down parts of the text that tie into or foreshadow future events in the series. If you have not read all of Throne of Glass, please, just don't continue. I'm telling you right now, you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I warned you, I'm getting into it. Previously on Queen of Shadows, Aelin tracked Kael and Nestor into a rebel meeting and warned the guards to avoid the southern wall during Adian's execution, marking allies with red flowers. Manan was ordered to choose a coven to breed with the Valg. When Asterin objected, Manan demoted her. She also discovered a curious servant assigned to her, who happens to have witch blood. A Robin summoned Aelin and warned her not to betray him, but afterwards Aelin and Lysandra joined forces to take him down. Slay Queens. Kael made Aelin promise not to kill Dorian and revealed that destroying the clock tower would restore magic. Aelin began preparing for possible wordmark traps, and finally, Adian was cleaned up, chained, and prepared for execution with his own soul. Fucked up. That's very fucked up.
We start this set of chapters in Dorian's POV. He's in the ballroom surrounded by nobility. No one, not even his mother, seems to notice anything is wrong with him. But he's actively fighting against the Valg prince inside him. Quote, "The demon had broken a little farther through the barrier today, and it now looked through his eyes with an ancient glittering malice. It was starved for this world. Perhaps the world deserved to be devoured by the thing. Maybe it was that traitor's thought alone that had caused such a hole to rip in the barrier between them. Maybe it was winning. Maybe it had already won." Oh, it hurts to read this. But the Valg prince inside Dorian is slowly but surely chipping away at Dorian's barriers despite his best efforts. Dorian's possession is one of the few inside looks we get at the experience of being possessed by a Valg, but also at how the Valg view the world. And the language used to describe the Valg inside Dorian is intentional and consistent. Phrases like glittering malice and starved for this world. The Valg are always described as hungry, consuming, feeding. They feed on pain, fear, and dark thoughts, which is part of the reason why Dorian feels like he's losing the battle against the Valg inside him. Dorian is in the worst possible environment to fight back. He's surrounded by people he hates, in a place full of trauma, which gives the Valg more to feed on. Dorian worrying that the demon has already won really shows us how thin the barrier is becoming and that he's losing ground and hope. The worst part is that on the outside, Aelin doesn't have much hope that Dorian is still in there fighting. So
My heart. My heart.
I know. I also,
can't.
I think we talked about this before, but it really hits so hard rereading when you realize that in each of his POVs, they just say he or the prince, like he doesn't use his name. It makes me sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sick. I'm so sick. Ugh. Anyways, as we leave his POV, we're again reminded of how little agency and control Dorian currently has. Quote, so he was forced to sit on that throne and speak with words that were not his own and share his eyes with someone from another realm who gazed at his sunny world with ravenous, eternal hunger. The Valg is literally controlling everything, and there's nothing that Dorian can do at this point. The contrast in descriptions here is also interesting too, because since we know the Valg's homeworld is described as dark and cold, and under the Valg possession, Dorian notes that his world is sunny, and the Valg prince is looking at it with ravenous, eternal hunger. Which, okay, I don't like that, not one bit. It really reminds us how twisted the Valg are, and they are something that is dark, looking at something good and wanting to consume it because they just want everybody to, misery loves company, and they are the most miserable of them all. But now we move on to Aelin, who is fighting her own kind of battle. We are about to enter the epic rescue of Aedion! Ah, slay! Anyways, Aelin has disguised herself as a dancer and blends into Madame Florine's trope to get into the castle. And we can just say our girl, she is locked the fuck in. She's committed to this role. She's watching those guards while pretending to be nervous, to be a nervous, shy beginner. And let's just say she's far from that, okay? And as they wait to be let into the castle, Madame Florine and Aelin exchange a few words after Florine notices Aelin's scars from Endovier. Florine tries to clarify that she had nothing to do with that, and Aelin makes it clear that she would have killed Florine if she thought for even a second that she was involved, because of course she would.
Aelin confirms Florine followed through on the plan and costume adjustments for the mission. As they wait, there's so much mutual tension and trust because everyone is risking something here. Florine and all of her dancers could be killed for helping Aelin, and Aelin could easily be betrayed and exposed by Florine or Arobynn. But even in this super tense moment, Aelin manages to find some common ground with Florine. She says, quote, I trust that you like getting paid more than you like the king. Arobynn had given a massive sum to pay off Florine. She kept an eye on the guards, as she said. And since the royal theater was shut down by His Imperial Majesty, I trust we both agree that what was done to those musicians was a crime as unforgivable as the massacres of the slaves in Endovier and Calaculla. You guys already know that this is a reference to one of our favorite but also most heartbreaking scenes in Heir of Fire, where in an act of rebellion, the conductor and his musicians play the songs of all the nations that had people in the labor camps that were massacred by the king. That conductor and his musicians are never seen again, and the royal theater is shut down. Aelin understands that art can be an act of rebellion, not just a performance. She understands what Florine is doing goes further than any amount of money that Arobynn offered. In her own way, Aelin is signaling to Florine that she's not just a dance teacher, she's part of something bigger. We know how much Aelin sees and values artists, but she needs to show Florine that she appreciates and understands this sacrifice. We're reminded again as to why the king fears not just armies, but stories, music, and culture. He sees these things as seeds of rebellion and resistance. And I just love this callback, so. And Aelin was correct. Florine gets visibly emotional, sharing that Pytor, I think that's how you say his name, the conductor, was, how did you say it? Pytor? What did you say? Pytor?
Girl, I said Peter.
Girl, it's spelled P-Y-T-O-R. We got to get the phonics cards out. Peter.
Girl, I just was going with the flow. I just,
I think it's Pytor.
I was thinking maybe in the old days that just is how, I don't know. I don't fucking know. Shit. I said that shit confidently. I said Peter. People are going to listen to the episode and be like, who the fuck is Peter? I promise I know how to read. I just be reading too fast. I'm slight dyslexic, so please.
Oh my God. Florine gets visibly emotional, sharing that Pytor, the conductor, was her close friend and helped her get to where she is. Aelin once again responds with genuine emotion, telling Florine that she will miss seeing him conduct a piece called the Stygian Suite. This is one of the few musical pieces in the series that is given a name, and it is very interesting that it's the Stygian suite because we know that the Stygian spiders, aka the Karankui, aka the giant fucking spiders that make spider silk, are a species of alg that are connected to Maeve. And what does that piece sound like? Dun dun dun.
FDB, fuck that bitch. Anyways.
I thought for a second that you were like FDB, like chords or notes, and I was like, "Girl, we read music." Like,
No, sister.
I'm
I
tone
can
deaf,
barely,
so
I can barely read regular English words, let alone fucking music.
I don't know if I told you this, but when Katie and I like left Broadway, like when we went to New York, I was like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God, like that is so inspiring." Like I really like if I could sing, like I would be insufferable. Like I'd be so annoying.
Yeah,
She's like, I've thought about that a lot. Like if you could sing, like you'd be so annoying. Like your ego would be so big. I'm like, I know I had to be tone deaf because they could not handle it.
no. I would sing everything. Anything I had to
Yeah.
say, it would be sung. Like,
Yeah.
it yeah.
Sorry, my
That
voice is beautiful.
I know. I'm beautiful, my voice is beautiful, please. You would never hear the end of it. You would never hear the
Exactly.
end. Oh my goodness. Alright. But this isn't the only connection that Florian and Aelin share. We learned that 2 years prior, when Aelin left Arobin and the Keep, Florian continued to give Aelin dance lessons free of charge. But not just that. Quote, moreover, after each lesson, Florian had allowed Aelin to sit at the pianoforte by the window and play until her fingers were sore, since she had been forced to leave her beloved instrument at the Assassin's Keep. Florian had never mentioned it, never made her feel like it was a charity, but it had been a kindness when Aelin had desperately needed one. This is just like another beautiful act of kindness that is woven into this story. And it honestly just kills me. Like, there's so many small acts of kindness throughout this series in a whole, especially by like the woman. Like, we run the world. We really do. But Aelin knows that she can trust Florine because of that kindness that she offered her in the past by giving her access to play music, which is very important to Aelin. Because as we know, Aelin is a girl who likes to keep shit to herself and she doesn't like to rely on other people, but she knows that she can trust Florine. And Florine trusts Aelin because even back then, she saw Aelin as more than just an assassin. Florine saw Aelin as someone who needed art and music in her life. And like, honestly, don't we all? Don't we all? As they continue waiting, Aelin confirms Florian and the dancers know the escape plan once shit starts to go down, which is very important because they gotta get the fuck up out of there. Florian and any of her girls who want to leave will go by ship, but Aelin knows that this is like there's a very real possibility that Florian and her dancers will not survive this mission, and she like wants to make that shit clear to them as well. Aelin thanks Florian, showing respect for her help and sacrifice.
Things start to kick off. The plans are in place as they get closer to entering the castle. Ress helped by sneaking Aelin's fake identity onto the guard roster so she could get inside. Aelin carefully observes the guards and surroundings as they move into the castle, and that's when she notices something that makes everything a little more complicated. Quote, written across the threshold stones in dark paint were word marks. They'd been beautifully rendered as though merely decorative, but they must be at every door, every entrance. Sure enough, even the windows a level up had small dark symbols on them, no doubt keyed to Aelin Galathinius, to alert the king to her presence or to trap her in place long enough to be captured. Aelin was not prepared for word marks to be used against her, but we know that the king is eager to capture her and has anticipated that she was going to try to break in to free Aedion. He's placed traps specifically designed for her.
And so now, Aelin has to quickly adapt and change her plan. She creates a distraction by faking an injury and bursting into tears. Like we said at the beginning of the section, our girl is in her acting bag during this scene. She loves to be an actor. And this isn't the first time that she's done this either, which is very funny. Aelin asks for water, knowing she can use it as a tool to erase the word marks. She waits until she's at the entrance with the marks and accidentally spills the water, erasing the word marks and basically disarming the trap, which I love that for her. What smart thinking queen. This entire scene is giving bank heist, and honestly, like, we love it. But with that, Aelin is in the castle. Aelin and the dancers are moved into a narrow hallway, waiting to enter the ballroom. Guards are every fucking where, watching closely, but everything matches what like Kale had planned. Aelin notes that all the intel Brillo and Ress gave Kale was correct, which is heartbreaking because we know they become collateral damage, which is very sad. Aelin notices servants coming up from the kitchen and spots Nesrin among them. Florine prepares the dancers by giving them the black glass flowers for the performance. Aelin stays in character as the anxious, sniffling understudy. She's trying everything to avoid the guards looking her way. Florine peeks into the Great Hall and quietly tells Aelin that Adian is alive, alert, and ready for her. This makes Aelin go still. Florine says, quote, "I always wondered where Robin found you," Florine murmured, staring at the door as if she could see through it. "Why he took such pains to break you to his will, more so than all the others." The woman closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, steel gleamed there. She continues saying, "When you shatter the chains of this world and forge the next, remember that art is as vital as food to a kingdom. Without it, a kingdom is nothing and will be forgotten by time. I have amassed enough money in my miserable life to not need any more. So you will understand me clearly when I say that wherever you set your throne, no matter how long it takes, I will come to you, and I will bring music and dancing." Without really saying it, Florine is letting Aelin know that she has figured out who she really is and why she is so intent on rescuing Adian, which, as we all know, is her cousin. Florine has figured out that Aelin isn't just assassin, but she is the lost fucking queen of Terrasen, and that Robin targeted her the way that he did because of the fact that Aelin is the fucking lost queen. And Florine also knows that Aelin sees the bigger picture. It's not just about rescuing Adian. Aelin is here to tear down the current world and the king and to build a new world. I mean, that is what this whole fucking series is about, basically.
But more importantly, Florine believes in Aelin. She promises to bring music and dancing because she believes Aelin will create a kingdom that values art, culture, and humanity. Florine is essentially pledging loyalty, not to Selena the assassin, but to Aelin the queen and the future that she represents. And this means so much to Aelin, who is carrying the weight of all of this. She needs to hear that people believe in her. This entire exchange reinforces a consistent theme in the series. Art is essential to identity and culture and society. Without art, a kingdom and its people are easily erased over time. Before Aelin can even process what Florine said, Florine sends the dancers out, telling them to give the king a powerful performance. Aelin stays back, focused and steady as the plan begins. The dancers enter the ballroom, starting the performance with the black glass flowers. Aelin centers herself on saving Adian, pushing aside her anger at the king. As she prepares to fight, Aelin reminds herself of who she is. Quote, "She was the heir of fire. She was fire and light and ash and embers. She was Aelin Fireheart, and she bowed for no one and nothing, save the crown that was hers by blood and survival and triumph." Silent scream. This is so important. This is really important, I think. Because in the first 4 books, Aelin's mantra was, "I am Selena Sardathian, and I will not be afraid." But now she's fully stepped into her identity and purpose as Aelin Galathinius, and her mantra has changed. Her old mantra as Selena was about survival, but this new one is about her power, her legacy, and her purpose. Aelin has embraced her firepower and her queenhood. She now answers to her people and her crown. And these are the things that focus her as she goes to face down the king. So, he doesn't stand a fucking chance. Okay, I'm going to calm down now. But I love
Not
that.
a single one. I know. Oh, I just love this. And I think it's just so fun how, like, everything that happens in these, like, earlier books just, like, continue to, like, come through the end. And you're just like, yeah, she is the air of fire. She is the light and ash and embers and all the things above. Oh. But, okay, low-key, though, I could be wrong, but wasn't something, like, isn't there, like, similar wording in Assassin's Blade like this?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. But it's not this exact wording. It's like
It's not this exact wording. I think it's when she meets Dorian.
Mhm.
She's like, "I'm the shadows." Do you hear my fucking dog?
Yeah.
Timmy, I see you seeing me. Yeah, it is in Assassin's Blade. It's like, he
It's like
asks her what her name is, and she says,
Mhm.
like, "I'm the
I'm the
shadow in the
wind,
dark,"
the
or
yeah,
I'm the wind, and
the
all these
wind.
things.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Ugh, Sarah, my queen. We love you. Anyways. And then we switch over into Adian's POV. He is studying the guards closely, trying to figure out how the fuck he can fight and escape out of there. He notices the dancers and feels bad that they'll get caught in the violence he is about to start. But little does he know. Adian notes that the dancers are dressed up to represent Death's handmaidens, which he takes as a sign because he is ready to die. We will definitely cover Death's Handmaidens in the Massverse episode because there's some interesting connections going on there, but stay tuned for that episode. However, Adian quickly notes one dancer acting strangely. She's taller, different, moving around the room with a different type of purpose. Adian watches as this dancer disguises herself as a nobleman and gets closer and closer to Adian without raising suspicion. This dancer is Aelin, who has fully committed to the role. She is blending in so well that no one picks up on who she is or what the fuck she's about to do. Quote, but the dancer looked up at Adian beneath lowered brows. Even disguised as an aristo man, there was wicked, vicious triumph in her turquoise and golden eyes. Behind them, across the hall, the dancers shattered the roses on the floor, and Adian grinned at his queen as the entire world went to hell. Can I just tell you that the first time I read this, shivers across my whole entire body. Goosebumps. I was kicking my feet and screaming. Oh my goodness. Because this is the first time that Adian and Aelin have seen each other in literally over a decade. And he immediately knows that, like, this is her eyes. Like, these are her. This is my good cousin. Because they're her Ash River eyes. And like they have the same ones. It's like looking in a mirror almost. There's something so perfect about the reunion unfolding like this, with Aelin showing Adian that she is not just a queen, she is also a mastermind, a fighter, and more than capable of rescuing him. Adian calling her my queen is also a reminder of his immediate loyalty to her, even after all these years apart, which, like, slay. I love that.
And with that, chaos erupts. Aelin's plan unfolds perfectly as the powder ignites and fills the room with smoke. Aelin fights and kills her way to Adian. During this whole thing, Aelin is wearing the amulet of Orin. As she uses word marks to break the spell on Adian's chain, the amulet flares with blue light. Aelin puts the amulet around Adian's neck to protect him before they escape. Then she grabs the sword of Orin and gives it to Adian. Aelin once again proves that she is a quick thinker because she starts shouting fire to create panic. The crowd trying to exit the chaos inside the castle freaks out even more. They grab buckets of water and begin splashing it everywhere, which effectively removes all the word marks meant to trap Aelin inside the castle. Mastermind. Genius. I would panic. Not me. That's okay though. Using the chaos, Aelin leads Adian out into the garden. She begins fighting her way through the guards stationed outside. Quote, Rowan had taught her a few tricks. She was a whirling cloud of death, a queen of shadows, and these men were already carrion. You guys know that we love it when the title of the book is mentioned in the actual book, and Aelin refers to herself as Queen of Shadows here. But we also see Aelin's confidence in her skills. She's not just an assassin hiding in the shadows, she's a whirling cloud of death, a queen, and these guards don't stand a chance. Aelin also thinks of Rowan in this moment and how he helped her get here, which is sweet. We see her mindset shift in regards to how she sees her skills, which we love. We love when she thinks about him.
Don't worry, Aelin. Your king is coming soon. He is coming soon. Aelin continues fighting her way through the guards, and once they're all down, she and Adian run for the hedges to escape. But their escape is interrupted when Dorian appears in the garden, which on a typical day, this would be good, but he's fucking possessed, so it's not good. Aelin immediately realizes this is not Dorian at all. The Valg Prince is in control of him. Dorian blocks their escape, wearing the Wordstone collar that enslaves him. The Valg inside Dorian taunts them and then attacks. Quote, a wave of black lashed at her, and Adian shouted in warning. Blue flared before her, deflecting the assault from Adian. But she was shoved back a step, as if by a hard, dark wind. When the black cleared, the prince stared. Then he gave a lazy, cruel smile. You warded yourself. Clever, lovely human thing. She spent all morning painting every inch of her body with word marks in her own blood, mixed with ink to hide the color. I'm sorry, the way that he just said, like, clever, lovely human thing, like, makes me feel icky. Like, it literally makes me feel icky. But anyways, you guys know that, like, we have to stop and analyze the Valg's powers and how they're described here. And this description it's no different. It's no different than like what we kind of already know. The Val use darkness as a weapon, and the physical description of their power is always described using the color black or darkness. Thankfully, Adian is wearing the amulet, so he is protected by it, and Aylin's body is covered with remarks that protect her from the Val's power. We're not going to spiral too far here, but this is also a great reminder that the word marks and fire are two of the only weaknesses of the Valk. It's literally the only two that like we know of at this point in time, which is crazy. And also like, look at her. How did she know? Literally, how did she know? 2 steps ahead. The face-off with Dorian continues. Aelin tells Adian to run, but he refuses. The Valg inside Dorian attacks with dark power again. Aelin steps towards Dorian and begs, "One sign, Dorian. Just give me one sign that you're in there." She tries to remind him of his identity, saying, "Dorian, you are Dorian." Aelin does this entirely on instinct. We looked, and at this point, there is no way Aelin knows that Dorian has forgotten his name due to the Valg possession. This is just another small moment that makes the nameless is my price prophecy reveal hit so hard.
I can't with the Dorian scenes. It makes me so sad. Unfortunately, there is no response from Dorian. He shows no signs of being himself. Aelin is able to momentarily trap him using a word mark she draws on the ground in her own blood. But Aelin knows what she has to do. As she prepares to kill him, the Valg inside Dorian speaks with, quote, a voice that did not belong to Dorian, in a language that did not belong in this world. And what language would that be? You guys already know. We can't spiral too far, but we will, okay? Dorian looks at her only with hatred, showing how fully the demon has taken over. As she approaches Dorian with the Sword of Orinth, she thinks, quote, for Terrasen, for their future, she could do this. She could end this threat here and now. End him on his birthday, not a day past 20. She would suffer for it later, grieve later. Not one more name she would etch into her flesh, she'd promised herself, but for her kingdom. And then it trails off. Again, we are reminded of how far Aelin's come. In the past, killing was either her job or for revenge or due to her anger. But her purpose has shifted. Killing Dorian, killing the Valg inside him is something she'd do for Terrasen, for the future of their world. And we're again reminded that this is not easy for her. Aelin loves Dorian. Also, the fact that it's his birthday, I really can't. But Aelin understands that killing Dorian would be a mercy because killing him would free him from the possession of the Valg. She also thinks of her tattoos with the names of her dead loved ones and how she'd promised she wouldn't lose any more people she'd love, but she's willing to lose Dorian to save her kingdom. And ultimately, that's what a queen does. It's something that many other characters, Kale included, cannot understand, at least not right away.
I can't. I literally can't. Even though this is one of my favorite books, it also just like brings me so much pain. Like literally so much pain.
You know what it is too? I think part of it is because like we read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Assassin's Blade, Air of Fire, and like in those books, like she's working through all of this. And then in this book is when she starts putting all that work that she did, all that like emotional work, she starts putting it into action. And it's like so hard. Like she's worked so hard to be able to do this, like to kill Dorian for her kingdom. But like, I don't know. It's just like you start to really see who she is.
That therapy was put to work, babes. Really was put to work. I feel like when you start to finally set boundaries with people, it feels like, oh my God, it's too much. And that's what it's giving here. Like, too much. Too much. Also, him on his birthday, killing him on his birthday would have been so fucked. That's literally so fucked. But right as Aelin moves to kill Dorian, Nesrin shoots an arrow to move her sword. Then Nesrin threatens Adian and reveals that Arobin told Kale that Aelin planned to kill Dorian. Once again, Arobin manipulates a situation, which, like, again, I literally hate him. But, like, honestly, like, how many more episodes until he dies? How many more until we get there? Jesus. Aelin grabs Adian and escapes, fighting through guards and getting him over the wall. Unfortunately, Adian is weak and injured. Aelin quickly puts on her acting face again and pretends they're both just drunk and celebrating, because again, she's the queen of acting. Aelin and Adian continue moving through the city. Adian is struggling and can't really believe all of this is happening. Quote, This was all some hallucination. It had to be. No one would actually have been stupid enough to try to rescue him, and especially not his own queen, even if he'd seen her cut down half a dozen men like so many stalks of wheat. We talked about this extensively in Air of Fire, but both Adian and Aelin have complicated feelings about seeing each other again because they're both afraid of the other's judgment. Adian does not believe himself worthy of rescue, much less being rescued by the Queen of Terrasen. This is also his first introduction to who Aelin has become, because again, remember, they haven't seen each other in like a decade. Aedion is now aware of just how skilled Aelin is at fighting and killing. He's seen and benefited from it firsthand. Aelin and Aedion escape into a carriage with Lysandra, hiding Aedion in a secret compartment. Lysandra helps Aelin clean up and change, disguising her as a noblewoman. Guards stop and search the carriage, but Lysandra's acting and her courtesan Marks help them get away. Aelin, Kale, and Aedion make it safely to the warehouse. Aedion is injured and covered in his own puke, but alive, and Lysandra treats his wounds.
Afterward, Aelin and Kale argue about Dorian. Aelin admits she almost killed him. She tries to get Kale to understand that the Dorian they knew is gone, but Kale cannot believe that. Kale tells Aelin to not talk to him like she's his queen. Aelin replies, quote, "No, I'm not your queen, but you are going to have to decide soon whom you serve because the Dorian you knew is gone forever. Otterlin's future does not depend on him anymore." The agony in Kale's eyes hit her like a physical blow, and she wished she had mastered herself better when explaining it, but she needed him to understand the risk she'd taken and the danger he'd let Arobynn manipulate him into putting her in. He had to know that there was a hard line that she must draw and that she would hold to protect her own people. We also talked about this in Air of Fire, but this is an ongoing issue for Kale. He struggles to be his own man without someone to lead him or someone he can serve. He's still figuring out his own role, his morals, his ethics. In Air of Fire, Kale admits that he never believed in the king, but he believes in Dorian and the kind of king that Dorian could be. If Dorian is gone, Kale's vision for the future of Otterlin is gone with him. If Dorian is gone, all of Kale's efforts were for nothing. And that's the reality that Kale cannot face and why it's so impossible for him to wrap his mind around killing Dorian as both a mercy and a necessity. Aelin takes control of the situation and tells Kale to go to the roof and take the first watch because they need some space from each other. She's like, bye. And you know what? He listens to her. So.
Good, as he should have. As he should. After Kale leaves, Aelin realizes Lysandra overheard their conversation, including when Kale called Aelin a queen. Lysandra realizes the truth and asks, "What do you mean, queen?" Lysandra has put together that Aelin is Aelin, aka the Queen of Terrasen. Aelin explained that she had to keep it a secret until she rescued Aedion. Lysandra realizes that Arobynn has always known about Aelin's secret identity. But Aelin quickly reassures Lysandra, quote, This changes nothing between us, nothing. She wants Lysandra to know that she is still loyal to their friendship, to Terrasen, not to Arobynn. Which, Lily, again, when does he die? Please. As Lysandra processes all of this, she looks over at Aedion and says, quote, "The resemblance is uncanny. Gods, the fact that you went undiscovered for so many years boggles the mind. Even though he's a handsome bastard, it'd be like kissing you." I'm literally obsessed with this because Lysandra does end up kissing Aedion, like literally a lot, for like ever, actually. We don't necessarily love them together, but this is like a bit funny. Aedion, he has his moments. But anyways, by the end of their combo, Aelin sees Lysandra isn't going to act differently towards her just because she knows who Aelin is now. Their friendship is real and genuine, and Aelin being a secret queen isn't going to change that.
With that, we hit chapter 20 and we're with Elide and our witches. Elide is not having a good time in Morath. Her injured ankle and her body are constantly in pain. Morath is also covered in stairs, which is obviously exhausting for her. But Elide survives by being clever. Clever Elide. Elide is really good at flattering people. She knows what they want to hear. And she's using those clever tricks on the cook, slowly gathering information on when the shipments of food and supplies come in so she can skedaddle out of there. This is also when the connection between Elide and Anith, the Lady of Wise Things, is established. Elide believes her ability to make people see and hear what they want is a gift from Anith. But Elide's prayers to Anith also reveal her internal anger. Quote, She'd never told Finula that she often prayed to the clever goddess to bestow another gift on those who made the years in Paranth a living hell. Death, and not the gentle sort. Not like Silba, who offered peaceful ends, or Hellas, who offered violent, burning ones. No, deaths at Enid's hands, at the hands of Hellas' consort, were brutal, bloody, and slow. And I love this, okay? Because the anger that Elide reveals in this moment grows throughout the series as her character develops. Elide is so much more than her quiet, obedient exterior. Elide has a lot of internal anger and wants revenge for how she was treated. The distinction between the gods matters. She doesn't want a gentle or honorable death for her enemies. She wants them to suffer, which reflects how personal her trauma is. Like, our girl suffered, okay? Hellas is also mentioned as Enid's consort, which is foreshadowing for Lorcan, Elide's future hubby. Lord Lorcan Locket. That's a tongue twister. As we get to know Lorcan later in the series, we learn that he shares a connection to Hellas, just like Elide shares a connection to Enid. This is really subtle/early foreshadowing to Elide's arc. If you want to hear more about Enid and Hellas, check out our special episode on the gods and goddesses of Throne of Glass.
Despite all that internal anger, Elide lives in constant fear in Morath. She's got to watch out for the witches, the Duke, or the soldiers. Elide wants the fuck out of there, but knows that Morath is isolated and the escape is going to be difficult. As she's lost in her thoughts of escape, Elide reflects on her lost identity as Lady of Paranth and how she's been forgotten. Elide doesn't think there are many people from Terrason's court out there anyways. She feels alone and abandoned, with no one coming to save her. But girl, only if you knew. You are about to have a whole family soon. They're going to be there for you, girl. But still, Elide is planning to escape with the next supply caravan. She just has to survive until it arrives. But things are not, it's not sunshine and roses in Morath. It's terrible. It's horrible. Quote, she overheard the other servants whisper about the dark, fell things that went on under those mountains. People being splayed open on black stone altars and then forged into something new, something other. For what wretched purpose, Elide had not yet learned. And mercifully, beyond the screaming, she'd never encountered whatever was being broken and pieced together beneath the earth. We know that one of the main Valg experiments carried out at Morath involved trying to breed the witches with the Valg, but there were definitely other experiments happening there. Elide describes one of these experiments here, people being cut open on black stone altars, most likely word stones, and made into something new. This could just be Valg possessions or the implanting of word stones in people. But we never really, we'll never know. Regardless, it gives us a better idea of what exactly was happening at Morath. The experiments went further than just killing people. People are being remade, stripped of their humanity and turned into a weapon, which I think is interesting, thinking about the Maas versus a whole, but we won't obviously spiral here. We'll get there in general later.
I agree. With that in mind, Elide enters the area and is confronted by Manon. Manon is already suspicious of Elide, calling her out for faking her stammer. Elide is terrified, but manages to hand over the letter that came in for Manon. Manon says that she's surprised Elide didn't open the seal and read the letter to spy on Manon. To that, Elide reveals, quote, if I were a good spy, I could also read. A bit of truth to temper the witch's distrust. It is very important that Elide cannot read. Elide's life has been controlled by others, and not to spiral here, because we could, but we've talked about it before, reading is power. Not being able to read is just another way that people are controlled. Their access to information and communication is limited. This is just another way that Elide is kept dependent and isolated. There's also some irony here because we learned that Elide is really good at reading people. She might not be able to read words, but she's super observant in her own way. Even in this moment, she admits that she's revealing that she can't read to lessen Manon's distrust in her. Elide is not the only character in the Maasverse who exists within a system that kept her from learning to read and write, which is very interesting.
Elide tells Manon she knows her basic letters, but that's it. Manon shows her what her name looks like written on the envelope and tells her to bring anything with that name on it to her. Still, Manon is not sold on Elide's meek and submissive act. Manon calls her out, telling her to stop pretending. Quote, I don't know what game you're playing, if you're a spy, if you're a thief, if you're just looking out for yourself, but do not pretend that you are some meek, pathetic little girl when I can see that vicious mind working behind your eyes. Manan can see right through Elite, especially because she could smell that Elite has been studying her map. Manan knows Elite is up to something, and she knows better than to underestimate her. Despite Elite being terrified of Manan, this exchange really does set the tone for their dynamic going forward. Manan does not see Elite as prey or even just human, especially because she knows Elite has witch blood somewhere in her lineage. Manan continues questioning Elite, asking her questions about her background. Manan is curious about where Elite's witch blood comes from. She learns that Elite is connected to Vernon and Terrason and that Elite's mom is from Rosamel.
But then Abraxos appears. Initially, Elite is terrified. Who wouldn't be, honestly? But she quickly notices that Abraxos is different. He is gentle and aware. Abraxos notices her ankle injury. Abraxos is covered in scars and smaller than the other wyvern. Still, Manan chose him. Elite realizes that Manan may have a soft spot for broken things, which could help her survive. Manan reveals that the king created the wyverns, connecting them to the Dark Valley experiments at Morath. Elite leaves and Manan opens the letter from her grandmother. The letter orders her to obey the Duke and warns Manan that she will punish her, Abraxos, and the 13 if Manan disobeys. The letter from her grandmother briefly sends her into a spiral. Quote, "Maid, maid, maid." That was what the Kraken had said before Manan slit her throat. You were made into monsters. She tried to forget it, tried to tell herself that the Kraken had been a fanatic and a preachy twat. But she ran a finger down the deep red cloth of her cloak. The thoughts opened up like a precipice before her, so many all at once that she stepped back, turned away. Maid, maid, maid. Manan climbed into the saddle and was glad to lose herself in the sky. And just like that, we're back to Manan's internal conflict. Honestly, it's more like Manan's identity crisis. In this moment, Manan is thinking about what the Kraken witch said to her back in Air of Fire. Later, that Kraken is revealed to be Manan's half-sister, making everything she said to her hit even harder. But Manan is thinking about this exchange because she started to question her grandmother, the Iron Teeth, and what she was raised to believe. Her worldview is cracking. It's part of why she's resisted picking a coven to be used for valid witch breeding experiments. The Kraken's words linger because deep down, Manan recognizes there might be truth in them, even if she tries to dismiss it. Manan wonders if she was made to be like this, and what it would be like if she found a new way to be. But Manan isn't ready to fully unpack all of that yet. It's too much for her, and so she puts it aside and hits the skies for now.
After flying, Manan visits Ghislaine and asks her to explain the Valg. Ghislaine, the most knowledgeable of the 13, drops some lore. She explains that the Valg are ancient demons. She reveals that witches were created when the Valg bred with the Fae, not humans. The Iron Teeth witches like Manan have more Valg traits, while the Krakens have more Fae traits. After the war, King Brannon allowed witches to live in the Western Waste instead of being destroyed. We also learned that Ghislaine was educated among mortals, and this makes her more human and thoughtful. Manan asked Ghislaine some clarifying questions. Quote, Manan picked at her nails. And the Valg are wicked? We are wicked, Ghislaine said. The Valg, legend has it that they're the origin of evil. They are blackness and despair incarnate. Sounds like our kind of people, and maybe good ones indeed to ally with, to breed with. But Ghislaine's smile fades. No, she said softly. No, I don't think that they would be our kind of people at all. They have no laws, no codes. They would see the 13 as weak for our bond and rules, as something to break for amusement. Manan is trying to gauge just how bad the Valg are, especially since she's been ordered to give witches over to them for breeding. Ghislaine's response reframes everything. Yes, witches are wicked, but the Valg are they're on a whole nother level. They are the origin of evil, not just participants in it. This creates an important distinction. Witches have culture, rules, hierarchy, and loyalty, even if they are kind of brutal. While the Valg, they don't have any of that. When Manan says, sounds like our people, it shows how she's still operating under her old worldview, equating cruelty with strength and similarity. Ghislaine immediately pushes back, emphasizing that the Valg would see the 13's bond and loyalty as weaknesses, not strengths. This is key for Manan's arc. The 13 and their loyalty are actually what make them all stronger. Ghislaine is subtly warning Manan, aligning with the Valg wouldn't make them better. It could actually lead to their full-on destruction. This moment deepens Manon's doubts about the breeding order. She's beginning to realize that this alliance is not just dangerous, but fundamentally something is wrong, and her gut is I'm not feeling it.
Manon continues the combo by asking Ghislaine what would happen if the Valg came back. Ghislaine explains the Valg can be defeated and sent back, as Brandon and Maeve once did. Ghislaine realizes something in that moment. Quote, "That's the smell, isn't it? The smell here, around some of the soldiers. Like it's wrong, from another world. The king found some way to bring them here and stuff them into human bodies." Guys, this is your weekly reminder that the Valg are stinky. They stink. Since they arrived at Morath, the witches have picked up on the smell of wrongness that floats around the place. It's the same smell that Aelin describes in Air of Fire. The Valg smell isn't just stinky, it's a signal that the Valg do not belong here. Their stink corrupts the environment around them. Ghislaine has a major realization here. The Valg aren't just coming. They're already here, inside human bodies. Again, Ghislaine warns Manon that the Valg are not true allies. Quote, "That word does not exist for the Valg." Manon reveals the Duke's plan to implant stones and create Valg witch offspring. This shocks Ghislaine.
Manon is conflicted. She's torn between her grandmother's orders and her own growing doubts about all of this. The news spreads quickly, and all the witches learn about the breeding experiments and Manon's decision. A Yellowlegs coven volunteers for the experiments, seeking glory in a different way. Manon chooses the Yellowlegs instead of her own Blackbeaks, protecting her coven for now. Manon tells the Duke he's getting a Yellowlegs coven and he's unhappy. He reminds her she's walking a dangerous line. Manon questions the purpose of everything they're doing, and the Duke answers, quote, "Because we can, and because this world has too long dwelled in ignorance and archaic traditions, it's time to see what might be improved." The Duke's response sticks with Manon. Quote, "Manon made a show of contemplating and then nodding as she strode out, but she had not missed the words, 'This world, not this land, not this continent, this world.'" Manon knows that the Valg are from another world, and so she immediately notices the wording that the Duke uses. This is crazy because this is truly one of the first hints at what Duke Parrington really is. Let's remember that Duke Parrington has Erewhon inside of him. The Duke, aka the Valg inside, does not see himself as a part of this world, or he'd say our world. The Valg sees this world as something separate, something that they can invade, control, and reshape. They're outsiders and do not care about what is happening to this world when they're done with it. And for Manon, this is just another moment that adds to her growing doubt and fears about what they found themselves tangled up in. As Manon leaves, she worries that her grandmother has not really considered the implications of this alliance or what might happen to the half-Valg, half-witchlings once the Duke is done experimenting.
Chapter 21 is a short, heartbreaking moment from Dorian's POV. He's thinking about his encounter with Aelin. We see that Dorian tried to fight against the Valg inside of him when he encountered Aelin because something inside of him recognized her eyes, but he hadn't been strong enough. Dorian was relieved when Aelin trapped him / the demon inside him in the word mark and prepared to kill him with the sword of Orin. But Aelin hesitated and then Nezrin interrupted. Aelin leaves and Dorian is left trapped with the demon inside him. Quote, "He could not remember her name, refused to remember her name, even as the man on the throne questioned him about the incident, even as he returned to the exact spot in the garden and prodded the discarded shackles lying in the gravel. She had left him, and with good reason. The demon prince had wanted to feed on her and then hand her over. But he wished she had killed him. He hated her for not killing him." At first, when we first read this moment in the scene, it seems like Dorian couldn't remember Aelin's name, but then he says that he refused to remember her name, even as his father questioned him. It's almost like if Dorian tried hard enough, he could have remembered her name, but he refused to in order to protect Aelin. Dorian doesn't blame Aelin for leaving him. He knows exactly what the demon prince wanted to do to her. Dorian doesn't realize Aelin didn't leave him willingly. But most heartbreaking of all, and we see this come up a few more times in this book, Dorian wants to die. He doesn't want to be trapped with the Valg prince. Aelin was right, it would have been a mercy. Obviously, everything ends up working out and Dorian is freed, but in this moment, Dorian prefers death over being possessed by the Valg, which again, just emphasizes how bad that shit is.
Then we get into chapter 22, and it starts with Kale crashing out. He is really our crash out king in this book. Like, let's be so real. But, anyways, he leaves Aylin's apartment absolutely furious and hurt by what Aylin said and done. Kale is especially angry that Aylin wanted to kill Dorian because he sees it as a weakness, as giving up. He refuses to accept that Dorian is gone and is determined to find another way to save him, even considering capturing a Valg alive. And so, Kale heads into the tunnels to hunt the Valg and rescue prisoners. He needs to turn his anger into action, but he quickly realizes something is very, very wrong. Every tunnel in Valg Nest is empty. The Valg soldiers have disappeared. Kale understands this isn't retreat, it's strategic. The Valg have moved on and escalated, mocking the rebels' efforts. Once again, he blames himself for this. Overwhelmed and numb, he seeks out Nesrin for grounding and tells her what happened. Nesrin remains calm and steady, saying they will find the Valg again. But Kale is hung up on the fact that he can't trust Aylin because she went against her word and tried to kill Dorian. Nesrin challenges Kale to consider the possibility that Dorian might be gone, but Kale can simply not accept that shit. He finally admits the truth behind his denial. If Dorian is gone, then it's honestly all for nothing. Kale isn't just grieving or in denial. Kale needs to cling to that hope that Dorian represents.
Kale says Nesrin doesn't understand. And honestly, Nesrin's reply is so badass. Quote, I wouldn't? You think that I don't understand what's at stake? I don't care about your prince, not the way you do. I care about what he represents for the future of this kingdom and for the future of people like my family. I won't allow another immigrant purge to happen. I don't ever want my sister's children coming home with broken noses again because of their foreign blood. You told me Dorian would fix the world, make it better. But if he's gone, if we made the mistake today in keeping him alive, then I will find another way to attain that future, and another one after that if I have to. I will keep getting back up, no matter how many times those butchers shove me down. We are Nesrin stans, okay? And I love rereading because when you first read this series, like I'm not saying that she's a side character, but she's just kind of like, she's there. And obviously she plays a big part in Tower of Dawn, but you don't really focus on her. And rereading, you really get to see some of these moments from her that I love. Kale is so caught up with what's at stake for him/Dorian that he's lost sight of what's at stake collectively. Nesrin is focused on what losing Dorian, a symbol of change, could mean for the future of an entire people. Most importantly, Nesrin has first-hand experience with the king's cruelty, his systemic oppression, and violence. She mentions immigrant purges and her sister's children being hurt and bullied. Nesrin has personal motivations, but she's also community-driven. Nesrin at her core believes that a better world is possible, and she won't stop fighting for it just because Dorian is gone. And like we said before, that is Kale's issue. He has tied his hope to one person, aka Dorian, while Nesrin refuses to see anyone as their savior. She knows they can find another way. She knows that she has to get back up and keep going. Nesrin's hope is tied to a vision, and that makes it easier for her to see a way forward.
I just want to add an interjection and then you can finish it.
Yes.
Can I just say, though, that, like, if you don't already know, we're both very liberal queens to our core. And this, like, quote in general has, I feel like, a lot to do with what's happening in the world today, especially in the US. And I just think that, like, when people try to say, like, reading is not political, you're full of shit. You're literally full of shit because reading is political. And, like, I feel like if you're not going to stand for anything, like, silence is complicit and, like, being complicit with whatever is happening. And Nesrin is just simply not going for that. And I just love a girl who can stand her ground, who's going to stand up for her, like, stand up and fight for what she believes in. So that is also why we are Nesrin stans.
Yeah. She's like, can you just put up or shut up? Honestly. Move past your bromance and figure this shit out. With that, Kale realizes that he doesn't know Nesrin as well as he thought, learning about her family and her past. Nesrin tells him to stop throwing a pity party and adapt. She reveals that she's faced racism and violence as a child, which shaped her into becoming a guard. Again, Nesrin emphasizes that change isn't just about Dorian. It's about everyone choosing to do better. Kale acknowledges that that's true, but he tells Nesrin he's not giving up on Dorian, which, like, we get it. We get it, Kale. Nesrin tells him that tomorrow they'll find a way to continue on, a way to stay the course, but plot a new path. This set of chapters ends with Kale and Nezrin agreeing to meet in the sewers bright and early. Because where else would you want to be in the morning? Right? The sewers. Of course. 7 a.m. with your coffee. Fucking gross. Okay.
Yuck. Like a little yuck. Disgusting. I couldn't think of a worse place to be at that early in the morning. And next, our favorite moments. These are moments in this set of chapters that we really just loved. If we could quote the whole book, we would, but we have to just pick a few.
My first favorite moment is when Aelin and Madame Florine are talking, and Madame Florine says, quote, "When you shatter the chains of this world and forge the next, remember that art is as vital as food to a kingdom. Without it, a kingdom is nothing and will be forgotten by time. I have amassed enough money in my miserable life to not need any more. So you will understand me clearly when I say that wherever you set your throne, no matter how long it takes, I will come to you, and I will bring music and dancing." I just love this moment because I think, one, it's a beautiful sentiment and one that I really fully believe in. I'm not going to like wax poetic, but I really do believe in like us as humans and like humanity. And as humans, like other than like memories and legacy, art is all that we can leave behind. Like that's why we fill museums and like we like fill our homes with it, because art and music are really like some of the most beautiful human creations. And I love that in this series, those things are centered and important and seen as like a vital piece of culture, because there's so much at stake in this series in terms of like saving the world. But all of these characters, Aelin especially, like still center art and music. And I think that is so beautiful. And my second favorite quote or moment is Nezrin says it, and it's at the end. She says, "Dorian Haviliard offers a better future, but the responsibility also lies with us, with how common people choose to act." I'm not gonna lie, like reading that really stopped me in my tracks because it is just like so true. I think we get really caught up in like what politicians and public figures represent, and we forget that each individual person is also responsible for the outcome of our collective human future. Like we have a responsibility to this world and each other, and we have to remember that. Like no one is gonna come and save us, so we all have to be good to each other. And I feel like that's what that quote is getting at. So I love those two moments. Oh my God, we have the same favorite moment. Okay, I'm gonna let you go.
I literally
You
was
go,
just
Queen.
as you were reading it, I was like, oh, I put that one down too. I
This
think
doesn't
that's so
happen
funny.
often, but hey,
When it does, yeah. No, we usually do have different favorite moments throughout these books, but I'm not going to read the whole quote again because Cami literally just read it. But it was basically about what Florine was telling Aelin. And I just like love how Florine is like, if you shatter those chains of the world, like just know that like Aelin is like this huge sign of hope for so many people throughout this series. And I just like love that. And I love that even like people like from the past or like even from when like Florine didn't even know that who Aelin was at this point. Like she just saw her as Selena. She just this again is this like sign of hope for people. And I think that she just like really believes in what Aelin stands for. And no matter what, she's willing to be there and help create like something beautiful and everlasting. And kind of like piggybacking off of what you were talking about earlier, I think that with like art and music and all that stuff, like these stories got passed down for some way, some shape or how some way, shape or form. Even when you like grow old, like I feel like the things that happen, like as you get older, like you relate through music through like younger generations. Like I know with like my family, like old school R&B and hip hop. Like we love that stuff. And I just think that like it brings people together. And I don't know. I just really like that quote. And the other quote that I had was, it's a short one. If Manon had a soft spot for broken things, perhaps she would spare her as well. I just love that Manon and Elite end up being besties because, and again, we talk about Manon's character arc throughout this whole entire series and like just the way that she's developed. But Manon herself is like low key, she's like a softie. She is like has a little soft piece inside of her. And I think that she is just, I don't know, I just really like that part because I think that it also hints to her future character arc and like where she will be like later down in the line. And lastly, our final thoughts.
my first thought, and we texted about this, but my first thought was like, wow, so much action. I loved Adian's rescue because I think we said this in foreshadowing analysis, but it really felt like a bank heist. Like, do you remember that? I think it was a Disney Channel movie, Catch That Kid, and they break into a bank. Maybe I'm I'm doing an elder millennial reference. That's okay. But I also really like the visual that's created with the glass flowers. I feel like I could really see that in my head. And obviously, like, I love the way SJM writes really poetic moments and like has these really introspective things to say about like fighting for a better world and like what is fair and just in society. But she's also really good at writing these like action packed scenes that just kind of like keep you on the edge of your seat. And in Queen of Shadows, we really see that. So I love that. And I'm also really starting to notice and love the contrast between Air of Fire and Queen of Shadows, because I feel like Air of Fire is a book that's packed with like so much reflection and introspection and character growth. And I'm not saying that Queen of Shadows doesn't have those things, it definitely does, but it does feel like it's paced so quickly. And SJM was like, we gotta get this story moving. You know, like our queen is healed. Now it's time to get it going.
She said it's time to get down to fucking business. We got somewhere to be. It's like Cami. I loved the action in this. Action movies are like my favorite type of movies, and I feel like reading this whole entire book is just literally like an action movie. And again, like Cami was saying, like I feel like when I read the scene of them finally freeing Adian, it was like a full movie picture in my head. And I feel like there's so many moments in this book that are like that for me. But this set of chapters specifically with like Adian's rescue. I also just forgot how like powerful and like emotional Adian's rescue is. Like even though it's action packed, like I feel like the moment that he finally realizes that it's her and he's like, "Oh my god, that's my queen." Like that's just crazy. Like think about like you used to be so close with somebody and then you just like don't see them for 10 years. You think that they're dead and they just come back and start killing shit. Like that's just crazy. And I feel like it just starts I feel like that is the point that starts so much through the rest of this series. And I don't know. I just loved that they were able to have like that moment of her like freeing him and all that good stuff. And I just love that Aelin again like shows us her acting skills in this. Like I think the last one that she did was when they were like at the coffee shop and she was like crying and sobbing with Kale or something like that, so they could do something. I can't remember what it was, but maybe I'm not thinking of it correctly. It's been a minute since I've like fully read this series, but I just love the way that her like acting skills just come into play here. And that wraps up our deep dives for chapters 16 through 22 for Queen of Shadows. We hope you enjoyed our analysis and theories. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where our handle is at Bookish Realms Pod.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on these chapters, so drop us a comment or send us a message. Also, leave us a rating if you like what you heard. It really helps us out.
Join us next week when we continue our Queen of Shadows deep dives with chapters 23 through 27. Until then, keep reading, assassins.
Bye!